Dobrý den, tak za maličký moment začneme, tak si udělejte pohodlí a za pár minutek naše konference začne. Tak poslední.
So, based on the registration information, it seems that most of the attendees are already here. So please take your seats so that we can start today's program. Open today's program. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's international conference on the support for the development of high-speed internet in the Czech Republic. The organizer of the conference is the Ministry of Trade and Industry of the Czech Republic, and its project, which is called Conference Broadband Competence Office. As it seems, COVID and other illnesses are spreading here in the Czech Republic at the moment again, so we are happy that we are still capable of meeting in person. Today we will have with us many renowned guests and speakers. We will speak about the internet from the viewpoint of local government, operators, etc. The agenda is split in two parts, the morning and afternoon one, and also in each of the sessions there will be a coffee break and also there will be a lunch break. Today's agenda is very rich. But before we get down to it, let me mention a few organizational remarks. If you are interested, particularly interested in any of the topics, and you want to ask a question, or if you want to discuss something in person, there is a room outside or next to this conference hall where you can hold individual discussions. As far as our presenters are concerned, here on the stage, they can join us here on the stage, have a seat and speak from the table or here of the place where I'm standing. If there are any questions, write them down on the flip chart in the lobby. We will monitor the flip chart and we will be answering them during the conference. If any questions are not answered, we will get back to them after the conference. This is an international conference. So there will also be foreign speakers, and if you need translation from English to Czech, please fetch the headphones which are at your disposal. We intend to close the conference at around 4 p.m. But please hold with us till the end, because there's going to be a surprise which has been prepared for you. During the whole of the conference, there will be refreshments available to you in the lobby, so do not hesitate. Grab a coffee or something small to eat whenever you want. So that's by way of introduction, and now let me hand over to our host today, our Mr. Očko from the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and Mr. Manhart, who is the head of the Broadband Competence Office project in the Czech Republic. Good morning. My name is Michal Manhart. Let me welcome Mr. Očko, a Senior Director from the Ministry of Industry and Trade, responsible for our project there. Good morning. Welcome, everybody. Here in the conference hall and also online. because this is a BCO conference, we must have online connection as we are responsible for internet. I am happy that we are meeting here at an event which is so interesting because 4 or 5 years ago we were thinking about how to set up BCO. There were a lot of questions, a lot of ideas about how to set up the program, whether it has any purpose at all. And I am happy to see that finally we came up with a concept which is now well established and which helps develop high-speed internet in the Czech Republic. And I'm also happy that after the 4 years practice, our project here in the Czech Republic has become a role model for other countries and for the European Union. Initially, we decided not to have only the headquarters in our BCO, but also to attach to it a regional aspect. The Czech Republic is a country of many small municipalities, and having a good communication with them is one of the key aspects which is needed for the high-speed internet development, a very important aspect. Also, appropriate implementation is important, as well as appropriate legislation, and also the development of the ecosystem, of the support ecosystem for high-speed internet, as well as good communication with the telecommunications sector. 5 years ago, the situation was not ideal, but today, even though there were different opinions, I think we have had a constructive debate, and it contributed to the formation and development of BCO. Now I will hand over to Mr. Manhart, a person who thought about the project a lot, who was at its beginnings and contributed to bringing the ideas that were on papers only at the beginning into real life and developing it into a functional and operational mechanism. And he also helped building a high-quality team on the central as well as local level. So I would like to thank him for all his work. Now we have achieved. We are at a turning point, because next year we will have to build a new project, and I think it will be a new BCO project, and actually it will be easier because we have good foundations in terms of the current project. I intended to present 2 slides, and I have forgotten about them, but maybe we can have a look at them now. Talking about the people in the team, these are the names of some of those people. You can see there's a lot of regional coordinators. And yesterday I asked Michal Manhart how many consultations there were during the 4 years, and he said the number was 3,500. So the 4-year period was very intense, and it was made even more difficult due to COVID. So for those of you who are not really familiar with the project, BCO has many functions, including high-speed internet promotion, up to providing assistance with obtaining funds from our ministry, from the Ministry of Regional Development, from the EU funds, and the like. So that was all from my side, and I wish you that you enjoy today's conference.
Thank you very much to the Director Očko, Senior Director, and I would like to thank at the beginning for coming to see us. And in fact, BCO is not all about me only, as the Senior Director had explained, but it's about our colleagues that you have met here at our conference premises. We all have name tags, so you can recognize us, so don't be afraid to approach anybody of us. And without my colleagues, of course, the entire project won't come through. So let's see the presentation, and for the beginning, about BCO, I would like to highlight scope of our activities, what we are actually doing, and knowledge of our people. We had to hire. We have people interested in electronic communication, 5G, construction law. We got a colleague that worked as the construction designer for a number of years, so we have to also reflect education area, connectivity of schools, regional development, CLLD, that means local action groups, and in cooperation with regions, we are handling all those issues. But last not least, we also need to cooperate with Geographical Information System, GIS, so then in cooperation with CTO, we are able to offer you the white spots or maps like internet maps and so on. When we were handling and developing our strategy, we in fact based on the consulting with municipality and awareness we tried to raise, we collected data in the form of personal opinions of mayors, and this resulted in our basic strategy. Because in the region the knowledge is missing, mutual cooperation is missing of the local authorities, and everybody has to cooperate and try to reach mutual strategy. We have also verified it based on the experience of our colleagues abroad, and it is necessary to, in fact, implement everything in the strategic plans and strategic planning of the municipalities to make sure that the strategy is united. Our colleague had already disclosed our structure that was valid until the end of last year. Based on our consulting, we had to switch to other structure. In fact, our activity is focusing more on the professional activities, so that's why we have just simplified it. We had simplified our territories, areas, to make sure that our colleagues can replace each other. So we have West, Central, East region, and then we got two specialists, colleagues that are in charge of 5Gs and preparation of grant projects. Nevertheless, I don't want to share with you only talking. Also, I would like to show you, demonstrate activities of BCOs in numbers. So more than 200 consulting were requested. More than 400 operators handled troubles with us. We have organized informative webinars. We have developed information, documents, materials, educational videos, and we are conducting trainings throughout different regions in cooperation with micro-regions and local action groups. So you see how many municipalities we have visited. Actually, nowadays it amounts to more than 98% of small municipalities. Nevertheless, we also conduct consulting with some larger towns and cities that had requested cooperation from us. So that's about BCO activities in figures, and I already explained that without my colleagues it will not work. Nevertheless, it will not work without other stakeholders on the market. So we had to establish close cooperation with the National Local Action Group Network, Association of Regions, Association of Towns and Cities, Czech Technical Universities, Ministry of Regional Development. Also, we cooperate with providers of electronic cooperations, communications, and also the small and medium enterprises associations and so on. We could cooperating with other operators, for instance, the Council of Independent Industry, APIK, and so on. It is always about cooperation, communication and cooperation. So speaking about connectivity, so one of the issues we have handled with the Ministry of Education, IT guru, for instance, it was necessary to develop a supporting material. So, for instance, when you hear school, then how the schools should compute basic operational hours, how to explain others how the school works, how internet works, and what should be expected from operators. So it was a brief explanation about our project. I tried to be really quick, so then we will allow ourselves to break. But we still have some time left, so I will use it. What you are going to see today at all of our presentations represent about 5% of BCO activities. We would have to organize several days seminars in order to cover all of our activities. So we have tried to prepare for yourself one room next to the lobby. There is a presentation. They are presentation boxes. So we have displayed about 60% of our activities. So you can look at it. It comprises of activities in the form of webinars, maps that will be explained by my colleagues later on. Smart cities. Development of 5G demonstration projects, and you'll see activities related to webinars we have organized, and you can actually request them, we can organize them anytime in the future again. We visit villages, municipalities, local action groups, regions, and in the upcoming months we planned 2 trainings. One training with Pardubice region and the other training with Hradec Králové region. So those are the activities in close future that we have planned, and I think it will progress our knowledge of all of us. So the biggest trouble in our activities is interpersonal communication. So communication without communication will not work at all. So I have covered short introduction. We have started slightly with delay, so I didn't want to steal your time. So my colleagues had prepared refreshment for you during my presentation. Of course, you are free to take it with you. So something sweet, something salty, coffee, tea is available. You are welcome to take it with you here to our conference room. We will resume in a minute, so let's break for 10 to 15 minutes. So you have time to look at the presentation boxes and refresh yourself, and then I will start with the other session related to grants and in fact an overview of the electronic communication networks. So we will allocate more time for it because it is quite complex issue. So I would like to share with you some transparent overview. Thank you very much. So have a nice break, enjoy your coffee and refreshment, and see you in a few minutes. We will announce, my voice is quite strong, you will hear me for sure. 10, 15, let's be back 10:15, please. And the refreshment is ready for you. So thank you very much, see you at 10:15.
Pekárek, Valíček, Očko, Pačutová.
Takže přestávku máme.
So I hope you have refreshed yourselves and we can get back to work. Now there will be a discussion concerning public and private networks and public subsidies, public aid. The discussion will be moderated by Mr. Manhart and Mr. Očko. And also I would like to invite Mr. Pekárek from the Ministry of Regional Development, Mr. Valíček from the Ministry of Industry and Trade, Mrs. Pačutová from the Ministry for Regional Development, and Mr. Bohdan Urban from the Ministry of the Interior to come on stage. Please sit down.
Tak, já vás tady vítám u...
So, welcome back for the second session, which will concern our subsidy projects for public and private networks. And now we would like to focus on presenting the types of networks and also the subsidies which are being prepared for these projects. Firstly,
vždycky tady máme problémy to vždycky ty věci zapnout. Takže já jenom v první části...
So firstly, I would like to show you the structure of the electronic communications network, starting from the access elements to the buildings, through the networks, in the streets where the people are living, up to those elements which connect this infrastructure to the central point. So these are the key types of the networks. And we are going to talk about this because it is linked to the subsidy projects. Furthermore, we should present the electronic communications, because when you say telecommunications, most people say we have a Wi-Fi connection at home. So this is a synonym for any kind of communication for them. The people do not know what kind of infrastructure they have. So I have picked 4 parts which describe the electronic communications networks. The first one being the passive infrastructure, the pipes, tubes, fibers, but also the poles for the antenna, so that you know what a 60 gigahertz connection means. Another part are the active technologies. These are the transmitters, routers, switches of the operators, and above all that, there's another layer, and that's the service that you receive at home or in your office. I will not go into greater detail, but whenever you want, you can approach us and we can go through it and speak about the individual parts with you. I quite often explain these things even to children at schools, so it is quite simple and comprehensible. But people at home normally do not know what it means, so we are trying to explain those things. And there is also a video available which explains how your home connection works. But in addition to the infrastructure, there's the division into fixed and mobile networks. As regards the fixed networks, it is still quite complicated. So there's another division, another level of splitting. And so this is split into fixed and mobile networks. And apart from that, we also have public networks and non-public networks. It is not easy to find the definition in all legal regulations, but it is described in the national plan of developing the NGN and VHCN networks. And also we have a publicly accessible electronic communication service and non-public electronic communication service. So this is the core of the structure, but to make it even more complicated, there's an infrastructure which is presented here, and on the we can provide these non-public services using, for example, the VPN technology. So all that is interconnected. Why am I saying that? We need to understand what my colleagues will be talking about. We need to understand the context. I will stay with the non-public networks because currently there are three key types of those. One is the non-public network of critical infrastructure. That is why a colleague from the Ministry of the Interior is here. Then there is a public administration network. So it's that part that you normally operate and use. And these things need to be distinguished because the access or the approach can differ based on the related legislation. And then there are business premises, processing lines, and they also use non-public networks, but they are not regulated by any regulations. but also your home Wi-Fi is considered a non-public network. So this is the context. And now I'll give the floor to David Valíček, who will present Mr. Pekarek is the first speaker, and he will present the non-public network. So please, let's switch for another presentation. Will you remain seated, or do you want to come to the speaker desk? Good morning. Thank you for the invitation. This conference hall has the capacity of 500 people, but today there's less, so you seem to be a little bit lost in this space, but nevertheless, I would like to speak about the non-public networks calls as regards the subsidies, and my colleagues later will speak about the calls for the public networks. IROP is the facility for the financing. It is an operational program to finance these activities, and the total allocation is almost 120 billion Czech crowns. The Czech Republic is actually, economically, it's actually split in 3 regions. Each of these regions having different eligibility for European financing, but altogether it's almost 200 billion. So the contributions are a little bit higher than previously, but the trend for the future will be a declining trend as regards co-financing. So we will have to get used to it as a public sector. The public financing will not be as generous as it used to be. The Czech Republic is becoming richer, even though the newspapers provide a different picture. So there are 6 IROP priorities, which is a high number, and there are different elements, different areas of focus, but there are also different operational programs. Frequently they overlap, but in this case our main focus is the public administration. We also provide financing to some private activities, but not to such a great extent. So talking about the networks, these are covered by the specific objective 1.1. This number 1.1 means that it is the top priority for the European Commission. It is called a policy objective, policy goal, and there are 6 goals, and this one is the very top. Is at the very top, the Green Deal being a lower priority one. So you can see that the European Commission prefers digitization to Green Deal.
So digitizing is still priority number 1 for the European Commission, and it should be also priority number 1 for us. So funding is quite high, more than 10 or 15% of IROP dedicated to digitizing. We split it to three main pillars. First of all, cybersecurity, then e-government, and then e-health. But it's a little bit separated, because if digitizing and IT is important for Commission, then the e-health is even more important for the Commission. So, in fact, healthcare plays the main role within the e-government. Nevertheless, it is closely related to connectivity, which is a horizontal element. I have heard now that the European Commission considers as a system failure of the Czech Republic the failure to achieve the connectivity. So I would say our position is slightly deteriorating. The trouble is that without connectivity, we won't achieve to digitize e-health. In fact, we won't digitize anything. So it is all closely interrelated. But the connectivity is really important. So our contribution for the public administration, which is, however, dependent on the private connectivity, because also speaking about non-public networks, you have to deliver the internet, even though it is not about the internet. The public non-network infrastructure can handle everything without the internet, actually. So in Europe, we have got postponed applications, and it is done for the projects when the projects are complex. You cannot develop them in 1 week, 1 month, or half a year. Of course, the quality of the application project is really important, and it takes time. So the calls were announced, everybody can read it, they can consult it with us, and of course for the public administration, if they want to apply for a grant, they have to analyze the structure, architecture of their own network, number of participants, and so on. We don't want to educate the participants by Europe, but we do so actually, because if people want us to do something, then we request something the participants. Participants have to do also, but I think it will be clear. There is quite a lot of money, almost 3 billion, in the less developed region, which is the poor grey north. Unfortunately, speaking about legislation, they get less money than developed region. It is true only for digitizing, because for the other areas, European legislation determines that less developed regions should get more money than the transition regions, for instance. Only digitizing is converted. It was approved by the parliament like that, and also the territory has to work with that, even though the absorption capacity and interest would be higher in less developed regions. That's how it is set for this period. We will see what will happen in the next programming period, and nobody knows how it will develop. It is partially exact, partially political decisions. In Hungary, they are just redesigning the map in every election period, so we don't know yet. So in the next period, the map will look differently, even though the less developed regions in north will be already richer compared to the European mean value. So parameters of the calls, we can just explain it now. It may vary from 1 million to 100 million for regional projects, or up to 450 million for the national projects. For instance, if the Ministry of Interior decides to apply for it, but we will see. It is not quite clear what will be the action plan, what will be accepted in the national action plan. Well, the self-governance is governing themselves, so it's quite difficult to achieve it. But speaking about the state, a new information agency was established, so hopefully it will be good. So, in fact, closure of receipt of application mid-2025, we can extend the period depending on the interest. Then a latest date of completion, 31st of December 2027. Of course, if something is not going right in the project, then we may also extend the deadline, but it would have to be justified by objective regions. Maybe the applicants are blaming the previous dimension. This is not the eligible reason. So I have to say, even state administrations try to find different excuses. Speaking about eligible applicants, it's a public administration, in fact, regions, municipalities, and organizations established by them. Then ministries, international calls. We got a limit 1 applications per 1 company ID because we don't have enough money there, but we will see whether we will amend it or not. Then call parameters, place of implementation according to regions, and Czech Republic, of course, it has to be a national project. So we will see what and who will apply. Co-funding, you see it, 70% of co-funding. We have set this limit identical everywhere, so it is justified. So 70% and 30% to be paid by own resources, funds, national budget 0. We have already said it like that. So Ministry of Finance really like our progressive approach, requiring nothing from the state budget. It is with respect to the current situation. Then, of course, speaking about the national budget, it's traditional approach. Of course, we have to somehow prorate it like that in order to reach 100%. I don't have enough time to explain everything, but the presentation will be posted. Maybe we will allocate more time for your questions. So generally speaking, of course, a consent of the main architect, chief architect, is important, which is requested for all IROP projects, and of course a strategy of construction and operation of non-public networks has to be developed and approved. So thanks to those calls, development of networks is done at regional and municipal levels. Even the preparation strategies are good, even though we got a lot of strategies in the Czech Republic, but those strategies are important. We have developed a lot of strategies that are not that important, and those who are actually important were not developed, but it is changing now. So speaking about eligibility, active elements, infrastructure, and so on, so rationality, approach calculation, then once it is supported by explanation, it's eligible. So hardware, software, digging the trenches, and so on. My colleagues will probably explain it later on. Maybe they have managed to achieve the good strategy in the OP. So I will see, and maybe we will just copy and paste the best practice. But for the time being, we don't think it's feasible for Europe. Camera systems, we had to reject it explicitly. Nobody requested networks. 90% of applicants wanted cameras, but we are not a camera-oriented program. So Ministry of Interior announced a call for cameras. So rationality test. So after the agreement with the Ministry of Regional Development, currently we are preparing a simple form that you can actually download and you can of course contact us for guidance. So I would like to thank you very much for time being. Can we post it? Can we post your presentation? Yes. So maybe do you have any central email address, contact data, where people can send their questions? It is in the presentation. Maybe if you can display our presentation. It's good that you have interrupted me, but we started later, so it's not my fault. So you see here. That's the website, and we don't use email anymore, but consulting service like in the bank ticketing system, crr.cz for the regional development, and you can just submit your question through the ticketing system. Thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting you. I understand that this topic is quite interesting and quite rich, but I would like to thank you very much for perfect introduction of the program. And now I would like to invite David Valíček. We will focus from the fixed non-public networks to public fixed networks, from the non-public fixed networks. So thank you very much. So Mr. Pekarek was interested to know what's the network coverage in the Czech Republic. So let's see the data, how Czech Republic had progressed during 2015 to 2022 in the last programming period. NGA 30 megabits per second fixed network coverage. You can see that it developed quite well. Speaking about 100 megabits per second, it also progressed. And looking to comparison to foreign countries, EU countries, so we have developed our speed by 2 positions left, actually. So Czech Republic had completed all the goals. Speaking about NGA and connectivity. And let's focus here. What is your idea? I think that it looks really good. And I should talk about grants, subsidies. I will definitely get to grants, but what you see on the picture was delivered by the market, actually. Microphone, please. We cannot. So that's the average, of course. Those are the data. It's not median. This is an average. Microphone, please. We cannot interpret without microphone. So those are official data of the European Union. So the market delivers the coverage by networks in the Czech Republic. Yes, that's true, that there are still areas that are not covered, and we should focus our grants to non-covered areas because the market is failing over there. I will just speak about it later on. Let's talk about it later because it's a basics. What do we do for that? We improve the investment terms and conditions. It is necessary to share the infrastructure. It is necessary to protect private investment and, of course, motivate market through subsidies or grants. Speaking about improving the conditions, yes, we will start with one area. We will explain it later on. Also, it's new construction act, digitizing building permit process, and so on. Speaking about construction building networks, it's about investment construction, and it requires us to be effective, and it is definitely something that requires our attention. And I guess our colleagues from the Ministry of Regional Development will comment it later on. I would like to say that digitizing of the construction permit procedure depends or is related with the digital technical maps. It will include, and they already include, information about all infrastructure and transportation in the given area, and those digital technical maps will constitute a basics for digitized construction permit. It is interrelated, of course. Speaking about development of digital technical maps, the Ministry of Regional Development together with the municipalities had progressed a lot. The first DTM, Digital Technical Maps projects, were completed. The others will be launched as from the 1st of January, so data from private providers of the transportation infrastructure will be loaded to DTM starting 1st of July 24. It will be operated live as requested by the law. So we have mapped the current infrastructure and we will be able to use it. Everybody will be able to use those information to be shared. What is really important? Yes, sharing is very important also. Sharing is the way how to make construction cheaper and accelerated. So sharing the infrastructure, both at the level of physical infrastructure, the duct protecting layers and the cable protectors and so on, it could be implemented based on the information retrieved from DTM. The ministry had already prepared the amendment of Act 194/2017, speaking about the sharing. Then this act will improve the sharing system. Yes, speaking about sharing, it is important. We can share physical infrastructure, we can share at the level of networks, and provided that the network infrastructure is public. If we speak about public infrastructure network, also non-public private networks can be operated on public infrastructure. So that's why Ministry of Transportation considers building the public network infrastructure as a crucial step in order to ensure better coverage. Speaking about protection of investment, protection of private investment, in fact, the development is ensured primarily or predominantly by private investment. It will be explained in the afternoon, so Mrs. Kobova will explain it in the evening, so I will not speak about it now. So it's about the public consulting. And the last things are subsidies.
So finally, to the topic I should be speaking about. So here you can see the wide areas as regards coverage, including 100 megabyte per second coverage. Still, it looks quite nice in general, but talking about gigabit level, the situation is completely different. So in NGA, we have achieved the goals, but here, as regards the high-capacity networks, the situation is completely different, and the starting point is much worse, especially in the rural areas, and comparing it to the objective of coverage for all by 2030, we can be thinking about the reasons why the situation is so poor, but also we need to think about what to do about it. My personal opinion is that we have used little of the grants, of the subsidies for building the network infrastructure, and secondly, even the investments that have been used, the work takes too long, so we do not see the result as yet, because we have long building permit processes, etc. The cooperation with the municipalities is complicated. It is complicated to obtain the permit to sign an easement contract, etc. So all these things are key to see what should be done about it, so that the construction phase is more efficient. We have gained some experience as regards the support to the network, to the coverage, but having cooperated with other stakeholders and with the broadband competence office, we have learned how to make use of the EU funds. And we have already completed some of the projects. Some will be completed by the end of the year. Talking about the National Recovery Plan projects, these are more successful because people already had the experience. The demand was really high. The projects looked very good, very high quality. So we are progressing here, and because the National Recovery Plan projects are focusing on the gigabit society, I believe we will make use of this experience to move forward, even though the starting point is quite low and differs in different areas. But what should be done? We need a better environment. But we made a lot of work on this aspect. Also, the Ministry for Regional Development does a lot in this respect. We are heading towards a simplified building permit process, and we will also have to get better in utilizing the subsidies. And lastly, what we need is improving the cooperation with the municipalities. We need to engage the municipalities. We need to ask the municipalities to help with the projects financed from the EU funds. Should it be any easement? Should it be communication? So any aspect they can help with, we need to ask them for help, for cooperation. Because the implementation period is very long, and only thanks to cooperating, we will be able to progress even more. So thank you very much for attention. Thank you, David. These are certainly issues we will talk about later. But I would like to thank for the graph, which I understand now, but still what is quite surprising is Romania, which based on this perfect data from the EU is completely covered, including the Carpathian mountains. It seems strange to me, because if it is correct, the Romanians are really good. We need to have a look at how the networks are built and what the legal basis is like, because it is not always easy to compare the countries. Frequently, the legal environment is different, the building modes are different. And for example, in Austria, where the building permit process was one of the longest, they started providing grants only to those areas where the local government allows so, because otherwise it's loss of money. So let me hand over to Mr. Očko now, who will talk about the calls for the public mobile networks. Well, I will stand up and go to the reader desk, and I will try to be quick, and I will add some information to what Mr. Valicek has said, because all the activities that we are running work well. And in cooperation with the ministry, we decided to use the National Recovery Plan for some additional activities which are innovative compared to covering the white spots on the map. One is a support to the rural areas, to the coverage in the rural areas. This call has been announced. We are evaluating it, evaluating the applications right now, and this is really a new thing, and therefore some of the applications will have to be completed, modified, but still I believe this is an important thing, and it is being monitored by politicians, by the Senate, for example. Senate dedicates a lot of time to it, but I am happy that it's been running, and if there is money available in future, maybe it will continuously or gradually get simpler, and we will be not so much stretched for time. So that's my first slide. One more information. There is one accompanying activity, which is the coverage of railway corridors with a signal. It is related to the BTS construction, and we are happy for being able to cooperate with the Czech Technical University here. The corridors are not easy. It is a completely new thing, and I believe we will reach the goal successfully. I am also happy I can mention one more thing. we should not provide support only to the coverage where the allocation is quite high, but at the same time, we should try to demonstrate how high-speed connection, specifically 5G, can help municipalities and industries to be competitive. It can help the municipalities to provide innovative services to the population. So we came up with what we called demonstrative or demonstration projects, primarily focusing on 5G, and we tested this activity on a project done in cooperation with the Ministry for Regional Development. It was a project focusing on 5 cities where there were interesting pilot projects. So there was a call for these 5 cities, and we are expecting the first project to come, and we would like to open one more similar call. My last slide is related to what Mr. Stavros Kalapotas from the European Commission is going to present in the afternoon. This concerns Connecting Europe facility, and this is being used for the 5G corridors already. We have launched a project Prague, Munich, for 5G connection, and I believe that some of you are already active in some cross-border activities. And also there's one more activity, 5G and Edge Cloud for smart communities. So these are the pilot demonstration projects using the 5G and Edge Cloud technologies. And I'm happy to say that in this respect, our thoughts were similar to the European Commission, and this allows us to gain some money from the European funds. And if you are interested, we can consult similar projects. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank you a lot. And I guess you understood now why I just wanted to explain what type of networks actually exist: fixed, mobile, public, non-public. And now I would like to invite our colleague from the Ministry of Regional Development to tell us something about one interesting call related to demonstration applications. I hope you can hear me.
Možno stlačam niečo zle? Jo, tak už som to až prehnala. Okay.
So I would like to show you our introductory slides about Ministry of Regional Development and Ministry of Industry and Trade Cooperation. I just wanted to explain it to you, but it has been already presented, so I will go through the first slides really quickly. So I stood up in order to be more heard. So on this map you can see 5 selected cities where we opened the first call for 5Gs and the first activities that were done. For instance, cameras in Ústí nad Labem city or Bílina cities. It was quite interesting. Or improving the transportation safety in Karlovy Vary and so on. So I will go through the historical overview really quickly, and I would like to introduce you the second call. It will be quite interesting and quick. The first call was actually focusing on selected 5 cities, but this second call will be in fact, focusing on extension of demonstration projects, demonstrating 5G technologies usage in smart cities. It will be similar to the first call, so you can focus on security, monitoring or mobility, or also focusing on education, healthcare, and generally speaking on smart cities. It is also very important that the application should contribute to supporting local development and demonstrate the benefits of advanced 5G ecosystem technologies in order to improve the added value. Speaking about support parameters, we have allocated 610 million. We have allocated 500 million as a minimal total eligible expenditure, and then maximum total eligible expenditure 20 million Czech crowns. Nevertheless, VAT is not an eligible expenditure under any circumstances. It relates to the territory of the entire Czech Republic. And speaking about the eligible applicants, you see legal persons, then territorial self-government units, public authorities, public and private entities working in the given territory. We have to consider what important, but it is important that those projects does not substitute public support, which is really important for the eligibility of the applicants. And I would like to show you the expected schedule. The call will be announced sometimes during November, and let's hope that at the beginning of next year, January, we will close the receipt of applications, and in fact, sometimes during May or June, the applications will be evaluated, and the completion of the project is scheduled for December 2025. Other specific parameters, very important item, as 100% of funding is time eligibility of the expenditure starting from the 1st February 2020 to 31st of December 2025. The implementation may start before the application for support is submitted. So actually the project may be already progressing, and we are in fact supporting those projects that are not substituting public support. And of course, the project have to respect national recovery plans rules and applicable legislation. Procurement do not significant harm or red flags. Of course, eligible, non-eligible expenditures, I will not read it out, but what is probably interesting in the eligibility, construction and engineering works, once imagining that you would need to build a pole with a router on. It is a construction project which is related to the project, and we may fund it. While speaking about construction of new communication, then I don't see any relationship with 5G, and it is no longer eligible. So you can see the call here. We have in fact announced the call notice on the Ministry of Regional Development, European Union National Recovery Plan, or you can download the QR code and you will get more information about eligibility and non-eligibility of the cost, and of course other parameters that I have not read out. So then I would recommend you also to read the information on the first call. Again, you can navigate it on our ministry website or just download the QR code. What is important to note that the second call will be very similar. So if you wish to get ready, so it's advisable to look at the first call. So that's it. Thank you very much. I'm here for you. And I would like to, in fact, share with you one disclaimer. I am just deputizing my colleagues that are not here with us, so we will appreciate your emails, sending it to smart.mmr. So what my colleague had suggested, we in BCO, we have started with our colleagues to cooperate closely on the assistance and consulting related to those demonstration projects because we think it is really important once operators invest in construction of expensive 5G networks that represent new investment and it is necessary to use it. So then everybody should know how to use it, what are the options and so on. So we are helping visiting regions and for instance in Zlín region we have made the analysis. In fact, it was made by one colleague representing analyzing companies, so that's what BCO is also doing. So we try to interconnect you with the knowledge of operators. So if you decide to invest in some networks, then it should work. Now I would like to give floor to Director Urban. In fact, we were talking about public, non-public networks, but we can also determine how the non-public networks look like from the crisis management point of view. So.
Dobrý den.
Good morning. It seems that it works. My role here is specific today because you have seen many presentations concerning the grants and funding, but what I should present is the existence of private networks that are slightly different. It may be these may cover non-public networks established in the public interest. We operate non-public networks, wired and non-wired ones, based on the competence law, but our primary regulation that we follow is the law of electronic communications. And the networks, based on this law, the networks that we operate are non-public, and the information on these networks are not reported fully to the telecommunications office. The reason why we have those is to ensuring communication between our units, internal communication. We have 1,050 backbone points connected. It is communication for the police of the Czech Republic, and this is an integrated telecommunications network. It is based on a redundant topology. The backbone points are on the level of the regions, and from the regions the connection goes wider. and currently all the Czech Republic is connected with the exception of the region of the Zlín corridor. Some related information concerning the fixed infrastructure. We consider provision of state services an important issue, and we need to exchange information on the agenda across the public administration, and this is an important network which is also partly used for the connection of regions to the central services point. And currently, this allows for the connection of the regional networks, but the state should not invest down to the level, to the lowest level, but they should take into consideration, for example, regional level or public authorities, which also use the SESNet connection connected to the central services point. We also struggle with the topology. The network is being built continuously. Sometimes there are original metallic cables laid in the 1990s. So we use our projects now also to deal with this topology. We also support with the non-public networks the crisis management units at the level of regions and municipalities, and we cooperate with the Association of Regions and the Ministry for Regional Development. We have quite an intense communication with them, and right now we are completing a project to implement routers that are necessary. COVID experience and Ukrainian crisis experience shows us that the concept of non-public network for crisis management, an independent network, is key. During the refugee crisis, we saw that we can also operate in the regime of a non-public virtual network, which can be set up quite quickly, but it is not self-reliant in terms of providing services to the crisis management units in line with the modern trends. Still, the police units, Czech police units, are operating on the level of 100 mega connection, so we need to improve that, and we need a capacity allocated, which the biggest problem is the capacity allocation. We are not capable of providing a fixed capacity in these networks, and it is a major issue. To sum it up, the integrated telecommunication network of the Ministry of the Interior is not something that is meant only for exchanging data internally. It is also meant for getting connected to the regions, municipalities in a period of crisis. when things need to be dealt with quickly. What is also necessary in this respect is a network security documentation, which needs to be applicable quickly and easily as well. And also we will have to use virtual networks. They will be getting more and more important. It needs to be scalable, but we rather rely on a shared infrastructure, a shared one. That is why I would like to say that we consider the network and as a holy thing sometimes. We are encrypting things. We use encryption at the lowest hardware level. And by that, we provide the communication highway not only to the state, but also regions and cities, based on security standards, which, in our opinion, are necessary and sufficient. Lastly, the Ministry of the Interior operates also other non-public networks like the IZS mass radio communication network. It is a transmitter network at the band of 400 megahertz. The frequency allocated is harmonized all over Europe, and it is intended only for the IZS services. For the it is the integrated rescue system. Then we have a network of for the fire brigade vehicles as well. Now we are working on a non-public mobile virtual operator, and we obtained operators declaration for the PPR and national roaming, and a few days ago we finished discussion with the operators to start preliminary consultations concerning the technical solutions. We agree that this operator should have the nature of a non-public communication network, and for that some legislative changes may be needed. So that's all on my part. So concerning the Pegas radio network, we have 250 stations in the country. The coverage is 78–80% for manual. For the vehicle stations, it's 98%, but we will have to switch for the 5G network. But this transition stopped 2 years ago on the European level. The technologies remain to be proprietary ones, and this is not an optimum situation in terms of services optimization. So what we need is transmitting videos from the camera systems. There is a great demand for that, and objectively it is not possible at the moment. On the other hand, it is still primarily a technical discussion. It is about the price quotation, about state budgets. So nevertheless, this is a direction we are taking currently, standardization and talking about new technologies, having an intense debate about that.
Thank you very much. Just briefly, I wanted to ask, in a single sentence, would you be able to summarize the biggest issue in the construction of electronic communication network or in the services provided by the authorities? Can you summarize it by a single sentence? It's not a problem, trouble, it's a challenge. Provided we would like to build something new, then it takes a long time and it's difficult to achieve SLA for the commercial networks. Well, I'm probably not well knowledgeable, so despite the fact that we are trying to work together, but still there are some challenges in the legislation, in the permission procedures, and everything else that may speed up the construction. So we will try to improve it, of course. So the Deputy Minister had already suggested that. So we have prepared everything precisely. Information provided by our foreign guests. We face trouble with the construction, and it cannot be resolved by a single person or by a single act. It cannot be resolved even by 10 acts unless we cooperate in every single stage of the construction, starting with project preparation, design phase, preparation at the offices and so on. We want, or we should strive to achieve the common goal. That means building the 5G networks, and it should be actually something which will serve the purpose. Thank you very much. May I ask? Yes, of course, you can. Microphone, please. Victor Philip, CETIM company. So I have questions for Mr. Pekarek. I will start with something I feel really sorry about. I think it was discussed for a couple of years, and I would say the entire industry had agreed on it, including the self authorities. So it's a big trouble that there is no call in Europe that will disable to connect most of the municipalities that would be entitled, and they will not. So I just wondered whether there will be still chance in the IR to lease optical fiber through investment capex scheme, which is quite well established throughout the whole world. Then second thing, speaking about Europe, it is really good that you have described the rationality test, and starting June to next year May, when the possibility to submit applications for grants, then the trouble is that, in fact, the applicants should find out what is the current situation with connectivity in their own area. But from a real point of view, we are at the end of October, and SETI, which is the largest owner of infrastructure in the Czech Republic, nobody had addressed us. Nobody, zero questions. So that's why I started to be worried whether it will work, whether the entities will ask us, and whether they won't focus on building networks with a coverage. For instance, Ministry of Industry and Trade calls in fact, shows that with every municipality, with the exception of smaller villages up to 2,000 inhabitants, there are optical backhauls. We have about 2 million of optical connectivities. ZTIM is building annually 100 connections, which does not have to mean address points, but in every case, I will bet that optical fiber from the private investor is already installed to every single hospital. So I'm just asking, in order to avoid troubles from the past, how to make sure that the European money will be used purposefully, not building parallel networks. And I'm getting back to IR. Without IR tools, unless it will be sure that you can just make a trench, put a tube with a fiber. It will cost much more than renting the fibers, because the fibers cannot be bought. It's not an eligible cost, and it's a pity that several years discussion, in fact, is wasted somehow. And Ministry of Regional Development in the recent 18 months there's no communicating with the Ministry of Industrial Trade. It is quite logical, because they open calls for entrepreneurs. They organize meetings almost monthly, but Ministry of Regional Development is not doing anything like that. Well, I don't want to criticize you, but in fact, you may lose track what is going on in the call. What will happen if the rationality test won't be complied with? What about if ZTIM and everybody else will announce you where we have the optical networks and why the applicants did not ask us for this information? I apologize for this criticism or information. I think it's a big trouble. So there were not questions, in fact. The question then is how you will run the rationality test. Speaking about IRU, we never had the rationality test, of course. If we have lack of projects and at the Ministry of Industry and Trade they will apply IRU in order to be in compliance with the European legislation, then it won't be problem. The lawyers, in fact, did not invent any scheme how to prepay something in the form of eligible cost. So, of course, we will then see how it is handled at the Ministry of Industry and Trade. We will keep the calls in the current shape, but if we see that the IRU expenditures were paid and certified at the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and if we identify that it is not absorbed in the way we wish, then we will apply our IRU, but I think nothing was certified from RIU, so for time being we will wait. So it's still open, and it is related to the second question. What will happen if we won't have sufficient volume of projects due to non-compliance with test rationality or something like that? Well, generally speaking, some calls are more popular, some calls are less popular, and we are ready to shift the money, transfer the money to more popular projects. Yeah, nobody had contacted you. Yes, that's true. The truth is that Czech public administration is not acting in time. They are acting last minute mostly. That's true. And they are actually waiting for the BCO output the regions are waiting for it because since August it's known that we are working on it. So I guess then they will contact you. The rationality test is mandatory for projects with earthworks. So it may happen that earthworks won't be delivered by almost anybody, nobody, but based on the consulting. I know it's about upgrading existing networks, upgrading active elements, or purchasing passive infrastructure, starting with local operator or global player. So I think that the digging will come later, if so, because the rationality test is not an easy one, and I think the digging will not be necessary much, but we were thinking that from the very beginning. So we will see how the calls will progress. They are open until 2027, and of course we will keep an eye on the absorption. And it is not trouble for us. In case nobody is interested, then we will transfer the money to cyber security, where we have about 2 billion crowns entities on applicants on the waiting list. So calls, in fact, were approved from the partnership point of view also. In Europe, generally speaking, we don't have representatives of the private sector because Europe is designed for public administration. It's similar to the Ministry of Regional Development. This is all okay. It was discussed with the anti-monopoly office, and anti-monopoly office had approved it from the view of public support and networks. They are, of course, making sure that everything is okay, also from the point of view of the court litigations and so on. Speaking about rationality tests, next week we will meet one of the regions where we will test the test of rationality test in order to have everything functional. And then we will just test everything else, testing together with other mobile operators, and we will just discuss everything with them. So it should be set in some reasonable way. Of course, we don't want to prepare something on paper, not functioning in practice. Speaking about IRU, first of all, we have introduced it in the National Recovery Plan, so we guess it will be implemented by the end of 2025, and then there will be audits, and this programming period will be over. Well, this is important from IRU point. The National Recovery Plan is governed by different legislation than Europe. So will you also reflect it in calls? Yes, it is. We are the certification first audits, and it will be, once it is approved, once passing all the audits, then it's no problem for Europe to take it over, and we will be pleased. Okay, thank you very much. I'm really pleased that we have invited all networks, all different grant projects around one table, because it is not that common practice that everybody is meeting together and discussing the current situation. So I will then ask Mr. Valicek to come over, because actually when we spoke about the grant calls, we did not speak about the grant prepared calls that will be announced soon in the upcoming months. So please be brief. So thank you very much. We are slightly delayed, so I would like to ask you to be brief.
Thank you. I believe that differently to the previous program period, we have all progressed and learned a lot, and that we have already partly covered this. Concerning the parameters for the new call, it should cover connection networks, I mean the backhaul, as well as the access networks. As regards backhaul, this is a new area, so there will be a lot to learn again. But both these parts will be combined in one call to save time for the implementation, which is a critical aspect, as has been said already. And secondly, by doing this, we obtain sufficient efficiency for the networks to be designed in a way covering the territory reasonably. The project must cover the territory with the VHCN networks, so they have to have real impact and bring specific numbers of new connected, new points or new places connected to move forward in terms of gigabytes. The recipients will be electronic communications businesses, not only entrepreneurs, but entities registered with the Czech Telecommunications Office, including municipalities, if they are so registered. But the main group of recipients, beneficiaries, are electronic communications entities, because this is driven by the market. The building of the networks will be ensured from private funds. But where there is a problem, we add a certain stimulus to be able to make use of additional funds to achieve the best results possible and to accomplish the purpose. This is the time schedule. And even though the beneficiaries should be electronic communications business entities, the real benefit should be given to the population, to the businesses, hospitals, schools, and authorities in the particular area. All those should be benefiting from this call. And we are also assessing the number of connections from the end users. So the project will be benefiting beneficial to the end users. And if there are any municipality representatives here, how should you utilize this call, which is conceived for slightly different beneficiaries? So you should focus on the initial data on which the call is based on which we assess the areas where the support will be directed. So this initial data should be based on the data collection, and also there will be a public consultation on this. In the afternoon we will speak about it, so if you find any discrepancies, if, for example, at a certain place there is no network, we need your feedback. We need your feedback concerning what data the business entities provided to us. One more issue. Please help our beneficiaries carry out the projects within the time schedule given. If there are any obstacles in terms of issuing the permits or negotiating with the municipalities, then it is problematic to complete the project in time, and the connectivity will not be provided. So we will be communicated with the municipalities concerning the implementation, and the cooperation in this respect is key. And we believe that also thanks to cooperating with BCO, who as an intermediary between the ministry, municipalities and business entities, we will be able to improve the cooperation. And we believe that this will help us move forward in the gigabit society area. Thank you for being brief. And some additional information. Now, it's the high time to provide the connection to the regions between the calls will not be endless. And so far, I have not found a single material which would quantify the real financial benefit for each municipality. But the value of the municipality, the value of each building increases considerably with the high-speed connection. So this is the advantage. This is the increased value which will attract people who will come back from the cities to the smaller municipalities. So let me hand over to Zdeněk again, who will introduce and present our next colleagues. Well, this session was very interesting, and we love the interaction. This is what we really expect from the conference. We want you to ask, we want you to discuss, to interact with us. But this is an international conference, so I'm going to invite our first foreign guest, Mr. Rastislav Pavlík from Slovakia, from BCO in Slovakia, who is going to speak about the situation in the subsidies in Slovakia and also in Hungary. If you cooperate with BCO in Slovakia, ask them for a visit to their meeting room at the ministry, because it is a beautiful space.
Thank you very much for invitation. It's a great honor for me to give a speech here, and my task is to share with you experience from Slovakia. Thank you very much. So I will start with this almost last slide. In Slovakia, we have prepared a project that was about ensuring the entire broadband infrastructure. Companies were tendered to ensure the entire coverage of Slovakia. Then we covered 5 districts by 5G optic fibers, and it was focusing primarily on schools and public administration. Then, in agreement with the European Commission, this project was later suspended. So I maybe would like to explain with you why it happened. Because operators market had criticized this project that was about to ensure fibers throughout the entire Slovakia. in Slovakia, we have strong, competitive, heavily regulated market in comparison with the other projects running in Slovakia. This project, in fact, exceeded abilities of Slovakia, and we were afraid of establishing so-called unfair operator. So there was a tension between small versus large operators and monopoly versus several projects. And then, of course, politicians were not interested in the broadband coverage, and medias are also not interested in this topic. And of course, the governance was missing, governing development of broadband in Slovakia. So it was not a big topic. So I will come back to the beginning. We, in fact, based on the history, we have, in fact, developed a new process defining, change the structure, how everything will be handled in Slovakia. The primary problem was that we looked to the EU, other countries, including Czech Republic, and we have decided to do it differently. The digital decade determines that by 2030 you have to ensure 1 gigabyte to every household. We have prepared a national broadband coverage plan defining projects focusing on intervention regions and infrastructure. And we have, in fact, developed a feasibility study and also intervention strategy. The entire project, maybe I will just show it to you later on. We have actually focused on the NGA mapping and we have signed a memorandum with 23 operators, where operators committed to connect all municipalities in Slovakia, more than 50%. We have then identified that 23 municipalities were not connected. The memorandum was scheduled by 2021. So in 2022, we have monitored everything, and we found out that 21 municipalities are not connected through NGA. VHCN had defined that it is possible to extend it, and the feasibility study had designed the year 2020 as the year. So those, in fact, slides show the timeline. We have made the analysis together with the university in Žilina. Then we had several projects, not a single project, 20 projects. Then we are ready to apply at the European Commission, and in fact, Ministry of Finance supervises effectivity of the project, so we will have pilot goals that will focus on the intervention regions. So it's the last pool. You see the preparation of projects, the pilot projects, and so on. So that's what we are going to do. So we will just define in the project based on feasibility studies. We have conducted a feasibility study. We have shared the knowledge with the operators, and we were instructed that we need to communicate with operators, with the market, and creating governance of the broadband. Then we were mapping it. It will be explained after lunch. Then speaking about feasibility studies, we have defined challenges, parameters, technical parameters, environmental parameters, financial parameters, and selection criteria, plus in the other project we have in fact analyzed details, and then we have received requests from politicians to prepare so-called social vouchers. We are preparing two types of calls currently. Maybe based on the feasibility study, I can state that as the other member states developed the policies, we will also focus on the regions. We would like to cover households, and in fact, that's about the speed gigabyte, 1 gigabyte based on the digital decade. Then the feasibility study had identified that BCO will identify and conduct the study. Speaking about environmental impacts, we just wondered which of the technology is more environmental friendly, radios or fibers. So the study disclosed it's fiber, which is more environmental friendly. Then backhauls cost and access networks cost. Those are technical requirements, really important preconditions of success. We have to map white spots, we have to open the calls, we have to identify entities, operators in our case, and of course we have defined the basics of cooperation with the municipalities. Then in the first call, we will select intervention areas based on the mapping. Then we will tender operators and operators that will offer lower cost will win the project. In case we want to find the operator in the first call, then we will open the second round of the call, decreasing the strictness of parameters. Then we will also launch vouchers for households, so those vouchers could be used in areas where infrastructure would be built. Then, of course, other criteria were defined. Speaking about intervention calls, of course, we have set a logical procedure. So pilot calls will be the first one to realize. Then we will have one cycle call, second round of the calls, and social vouchers. So it will be all logically interlinked. Based on the experience gained in the EU member states and discussion with our colleagues in the Czech Republic, what we planned for the future, e-governance, in fact, guiding the broadband program. We don't want to be in conflict with market or with the other public administrations, authorities. We are about to launch BB portal, including map of the Slovak infrastructure, including addresses. So the state aid preparation is currently being prepared. So I just wanted to highlight how to ensure that broadband implementation is successful in the Czech Republic. We have to gain political support. We need to have sufficient amount of money. Currently, we have 112 million euros. In fact, national body had defined a gap 950 million euros. Then all stakeholders have to be involved, and the policy-making, telco business administration and citizens have to create a big coalition. Then it is necessary to launch pilot projects demonstrating successful projects. Then the areas where the high-speed internet is missing, and then it will benefit citizens, entrepreneurs and politicians. Currently, Slovakia will improve DESI index. Thank you very much.
Děkujeme Rastovi Pavlíkovi.
Thank you. Now we will play an informative video from Hungary concerning the same kind of projects in Hungary.
The main goal of the Superfast program in Hungary is to deploy next generation access connections throughout the whole country to be able to fulfill the requirements of the digital agenda targets. That means at least 30 megabit per second, and for better connection, 100 megabit per second connections. The main idea was to cover those areas where no service was at all available or very poor service was available. This was made via mapping exercise. After that, we prepared the tendering document from financial perspective. That means we had to decide how to make interest for the service provider in those areas where we have market failures and their economic situation is very bad. We used all kind of next generation access technology, but advantage was on FTTX technology. That means those who offered a solution with fiber, they could win more tenders.
Mióta ilyen gyors a net, ez nagyban megkönnyíti nekem az élőadás készítést, amiben leginkább játszani szoktam.
A szupergyors internet lehetővé tette, hogy ugyanazokkal a feltételekkel szerepeljek a piacon, mint a városi konkurencia. Nem azzal kellett foglalkoznom, hogy időben megjöjjenek az e-mailek, miért nem jönnek meg, hanem az ügyfelek igényének a maximális kielégítésre tudtam koncentrálni.
This is the ever largest project in Hungary. That means we had to use different kind of funding. So 80% of the funding came from the EU ERDF funding, and the rest was provided by Hungarian banks. And there was one region close to Budapest where the state provided the funding. And not to forget the companies who were participating in this project, they offered their own budget as well.
Ez most nagyon jó, hogy ilyen gyors internetünk van, mert a bánságba élő rokonainkat sűrűn hívjuk, úgyhogy nálam az internet az első. Na mondjuk a férjem után.
Thanks for playing the video. It was really interesting, and as you can see, the situation in Hungary is similar as elsewhere, or compared to Slovakia, Hungary shows that education is necessary. It is necessary to visit people, provide explanations, and I think this is a thing which is common for all of our countries. So now let's move to another topic, which is experience with building permissions. So first of all, there will be a presentation by Mr. Minaj and Mr. Kafka from BCO, and this will be followed by a panel discussion. So I would like to invite on stage Mr. Flankel from Cetin, Mr. Beneš, who represents local government. He is the mayor of the city of Přerov nad Labem, and he also represents the Association of Local Governments. So thank you. Good morning. Just shortly, by way of introduction about what we are going to discuss. We visit the whole Czech Republic, we speak to mayors, we speak to operators, and we see and hear about many difficulties they face. And these may be objective or subjective, but still these difficulties do exist, and we need to be able to fix those. So what do the mayors normally say? So the municipalities view this topic in such a way that they don't want to build new networks because they may have built something nice in their village. It could have been a big investment for the village, and they have concerns that the operator after the construction will not resume the original condition. Of course, a village can run a subsidy project, which means lots of work for the mayor, and then there may be a need to lay some protector or something, and the mayor fears that they might be deprived or some money, they might lose some money because of that, and also it means additional work for them. Sometimes the mayors are not knowledgeable of the area of in the internet of funding. They believe that the 30 megabyte connection is okay. And if the population of the village are mainly elderly people, they do not want anything new, they are happy, then do not see the need to do something else. Another issue, quite a frequent one, maybe this relates, or mostly this relates to bigger municipalities. They already have some kind of infrastructure. There is normally an association, some freenet organization. They have a metropolitan network which provides some services too, and the mayor says, we already have this, we don't need anything else. So this is again an impediment for the operator. The municipalities have free infrastructure. They have prepared some kind of protection, for example, when they are building pavements, sidewalks, then an operator comes and wants to use that, but often, maybe because of lack of knowledge, this protection is laid or was laid in a way which is unusable for the operator. Also, communication with the local operators may be bad, may be poor. Mayors are looking for information, but the operators do not provide it. So the municipality obtains information that the operator wants to implement, wants to build something. The village learns about it late, and they say, no, we don't want it. But talking about the perspective of the operator, it's completely different. I am in frequent contact with operators, so I would sum it up in this way. The first priority is the business plan, because there must be some return on the investment in some period of time. So the operator wants to get their money back within some period. So this is frequently the key to whether they will invest in a particular municipality or not. So in this respect, we need to support the white areas on the map which we saw, and for that the subsidies may be used. Communication is always an issue. Sometimes the whole project is stopped because of poor communication. This is also related to the high level of serviceability or some extra costs related to some aspect of the project. Also, the municipality must find some space for the infrastructure to be placed, whether underground or on poles. They may need to place transmitters on the roofs. So all that must be mapped beforehand and used as a basis for the decision. As has been mentioned, soon the digital maps should be available, and what is also important is client penetration of the particular operator, and the fact whether there is a competitor, which may also impact the implementation of the business plan. So the view of the operator is more complex than that of the mayor. But these are not things the population is interested in, because they want to have high quality, high speed internet. But on the other hand, they don't want intense or extensive construction running in their village. So therefore, I would like to ask our guests about their experience with the building permit process. So, first of all, I'll hand over to Mr. Frankl, who is also a member of the steering committee of BCO. So, as you can see, we have close relationships. The municipalities are represented here by our guest from the Association of Municipalities. So, okay, let me hand over to Mr. Frankl.
So I have prepared one slide, and I would like to comment it. We feel, on behalf of SETIN, that of course, ability to build a fiber network in the given location is associated with several aspects, and we should not focus on a single aspect. Of course, the basic core of the permission procedure is about construction permits or zoning permits, but on the other hand, we have to admit the reality. So, admitting that it is big trouble to obtain permissions, any type of permissions related to construction in the Czech Republic takes long time. It will be an illusion that we will be able to create a system for electronic communication that will be speedy. It is not like that, unfortunately. We are, of course, trying to facilitate constructions, but at the end of the day, until we have a system of construction permits implemented well in practice, then it will not work well for electronic communications. So we think that that's something that needs to be considered, and we should not rely on the fact getting the permissions quickly, being able to absorb the money. It will not be like that. So we are convinced that the basic measures that will help basically to build in the given locations would be justification that due to objective reasons the project cannot be completed in a single call period, allowing the project to be completed in the next call or programming period, because unfortunately a lot of locations will not start to build networks at all, because there is a high risk that it will not be completed by the deadline. The reasons are different, but the reasons is about, of course, public administration proceedings, but we need to get the permission from private owners. So they are not always available. Maybe there will be the hire procedures and so on. So if you add the Expropriation Act to the existing act, then we may agree that the Expropriation Act in a number of years, making it efficient, it is not real. Again, it is not feasible. So we should think about allowing part of the project to continue also in the next period. We do not underestimate cooperation with municipalities. We pay a lot of attention to it, and we try not to submit projects in locations where we won't get a promise of cooperation from the given authority. By the way, have you noticed that in certain municipalities, stations, train stations, bus stations are close to the center, and in the others you have to travel by bus. It is caused by the fact that when the railway was built, some of the municipalities didn't want to admit the railways within their territory. Now we know how railways contributed to wealth of the inhabitants, to the development of the area. And it will be the same with the broadband development. There are certain municipalities that underestimate the issue or question of having broadband network fibers. Due to a number of reasons, they are rejecting it. So, of course, it will always be like that. There will be prosperous municipalities and those who will lag behind. But I don't want to be too pessimistic. We really try to, or manage to build significant volumes that are feasible only due to grants, because otherwise it will not be feasible at all. So this discussion is about how to improve the situation. We should not discuss about how bad everything is currently and nothing works. It is not like that. Different aspects work well, relatively well. For instance, fibers in Valchov municipality, which is a little village in Blansko district, 159 addresses at the beginning, no coverage. And at the end of the project, 149 addresses with the speed up to 2 gigabytes, with ability to upgrade up to 10 gigabytes. No trouble. So this is a success story among about 7,000 connections that we have built within the grant schemes, and among several dozens of thousands that we would like to build within the period, because the European Union had set ambitious goal by 2030, and we are ready to contribute to fulfillment of those goals. Still, I would like to add one information which is not positive with respect to mapping. We are able to bring fibers to municipalities, but since the time when it was mapped, somebody built a house there, it was not mapped, and this owner comes to us and asks for the fibers to be brought to his house, and we have to reject it. We are sorry, the grant rules don't allow us to do so, and this is quite frequent story. There are about 730 connections that cannot be connected today, and this is a big challenge. We should improve the situation because, of course, if a house is brand new, that was not standing yet, it was not built when it was mapped, then logically it's not about protection of investment, because we are banned to connect this newly built house. So this is just a little complaint. We should continuously improve everything. I know I spoke too long. I apologize for summarizing everything like that. Thank you very much, Mr. Frankel. So I hope that everything is improving, because the Ministry of Industry and Trade started to be active in the discussion, trying to figure out how to connect newly established addresses, discussing it not only within the ministry but also with Europe. Because of course, if you hold the money, you determine the rules, but I guess a program is already being prepared. Jakub Rejsek, representative of smaller operators, they are also building the networks, and they are focusing to locations in municipalities. They are building the not only wireless networks, but they are actually building also fiber networks in those locations. So what is your experience and your opinion about it? Well, primarily, I would have to deny certain myths that we represent only smaller and smaller operators. This is important. And the second myth we need to reject is that we represent operators working with Wi-Fi. At the time when the SPT Telecom, Czech Telecom, and Telefonica did not build fibers to homes, we were in fact the operators building it in TTH and TTB standards, and the large operators are now trying to deliver it also. Well, it was caused by the fact that there was a gap between Wi-Fi and something else on the cable. It should be handled through fibers, logically. Our association, in fact, represents the entire portfolio of providers providing services, starting with smaller users up to backbone operators, up to the regions, building fully fiber networks or hybrid networks, ending with maybe Wi-Fi connections. CETIN is part of it. They are doing great job, and we want to have good cooperation between ourselves and the other smaller non-incumbent and incumbent and municipalities. It should be at a level that would improve possibility to get connected to our citizens. The way how it is handled in the regions. It was explained by Michal Frankel. I don't need to repeat it. So maybe I will just share with you the situation in Romania. Aleš Pekarek from the Ministry of Regional Development had suggested also situation in Romania. A long time ago in Romania, they allowed to build fiber networks throughout the entire country, including the smallest village. If it was not able to build the back optics fibers, then they have just bridged the last gap by radio waves. I think that it will be great if we can focus on the smallest villages. If I just focus on ability to deliver the broadband in the smaller villages, doing it through the overhead wires. And I'm criticized that I want to achieve the overhead cables everywhere, and then we will look like Balkan countries. So we have to decide what to do. We have to make the legislation less strict, maybe, and allowing certain town halls, municipalities, building overhead wires, cables. Then we may allow them to do that. In fact, starting 1st of January 2024, inability to build overhead cables. So, in fact, it is a date, but the change will be demonstrated much later. Yeah, of course, there is a balance. If we want to speed up the construction, we should not regulate it that heavily. I would say the amendment of the construction proceedings will allow us to speed it up, and provided we are able to open the portal of the construction owner, provided we will cooperate well between BCO and the ministries. We are saying it a long time. We as an association had granted the positively designed award, nevertheless it was satiric. In starting 2014, we managed to adopt it in legislation in 2023, and then we would know about the intention in the zones by some reasonable digitally accessible method, knowing, oh, they are planning to repair something on the roads or pavements, and then we will use it as the opportunity to, in fact, install our project also. Speaking about municipalities, we would appreciate if somebody would offer us the fibers with subsidies, grants, being a small village. For instance, I live in a village where there is approximately 150 homes. We had some fraudsters we have never seen before, and they have never sold a single byte of data. They are showing high accessibility rate of gigabyte internet on our addresses. And I need to share with you the feedback. Please establish a reasonable process. Yes, I have seen it within the public consulting, but please educate self-government. Who comes from the self-government? Raise your hand. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. Let's educate and let's finally terminate cooperation with those who show high accessibility in our villages, protecting their investment, because it eliminates us to install the fibers in areas with low return of investment. And believe me, if you just calculate the fibers per 30 years of life cycles, then the return of investment will be achieved in the year 22. So you definitely need a support. That's it. Thank you very much. So, Jakob, you have built on a topic that is scheduled for the end of our conference. So if you ever knew that with our colleagues with the Ministry of Industry and Trade, we would like to focus on educational videos showing that, in fact, the complicated architecture of electronic communication, it should be clear what is public, what is non-public networks, and so on. So now I would like to invite Mr. Beneš, who will just explain the second aspect, consumer, municipality, where everything should be built, because operator without cooperation with the municipality is not able to build it.
Thank you for inviting me. Good morning, everybody. I have a short presentation from the viewpoint of a municipality and the Association of Municipalities. And we, as the association, try to educate the mayors and local governments. So I focus on the support for the development of a high-speed internet in the Czech Republic from the viewpoint of local government or self-government. So the process in the municipalities is going from the wooden wheel to connectivity. If there is nobody in the municipality who is a visionary, actually, we now are trying to catch up with the development. And for that, we need a strategy, and the representatives of the municipality should know what they really need, what are their specifics, the risks in the place, and what can be offered to the users and networks operators. And also we need to know what our inhabitants need and what we need as a municipality. And we need a plan. We need a plan for a certain period ahead to be able to communicate our intentions, our plans, to map the coverage. And for that, there is a useful tool, digital technical maps, which are reaching the municipalities already. And we are also offering a certain facility through which we help scanning non-existing or unknown networks. We have a software called AGIS for that. So in those municipalities where we didn't know where the networks are located, we are using not only a scanning vehicle, but also drones for 3D models or georadar. These are pictures from the georadar. At the top you can see the route of the drone. Then you can see a soil cross-section down to 9 meters depth. We could see some defects in the utilities, in the infrastructure because of lack of control of this infrastructure, and for this is a very useful tool for scanning also other things like greenery, but it's not today's topic. So to be able to discuss the plans with the operators, communication is essential, which has already been mentioned. And we are trying to educate the municipalities to communicate with the operators, to communicate, to formulate well the needs, to be able to make plans and achieve the goals. The next step is coordination, which is essential when planning any linear structures in the municipality. We need to know where the existing infrastructure is before we start building. And previously, there was a complication of 3 layers of ownership, including unidentified, unknown owners. This is a very complex situation whenever you want to do anything, when you want to install gas piping, water piping, whatever. You need the permits, consents from the owners. You need to convince them, which is really difficult sometimes. In coordinating and preparing the projects, we need to communicate the intentions, and as an association of local governments, we know that communicating with the big operators is good, it is successful, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy to see that the communication works there. But there are many small or smaller operators too, which are invited to all our consultations. But between the big one and small one, there is a medium one. So the goal is to be able to communicate with all those. And the communication is the key to everything. Unless we communicate, we will never reach the goals we have. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to ask our cameraman to show us some of the things we have been mentioning, because not everybody knows what, for example, this protecting device is, protecting device for cables. So we have some examples in the lobby, but for the online attendees, you can see what it really means. It is not a complicated device or equipment, nothing really complex. It is a very small infrastructure which can, on the other hand, do big things. Concerning this picture, of this device. Maybe you believe that having gigabit everywhere means having big infrastructure everywhere, but we have already seen that that never will be 100%, because there will be places where it will not be possible for some geographical reasons, or because there are just a couple of houses, and conducting these ducts, these cables there is not really possible. But not having the optic fibers does not always mean that we won't have the gigabit connection, because VHCN is not always necessary for access 3.0. But in the prior panel discussions, having 800 mega instead of 1 giga does not mean that you won't be able to connect to the giga services. So the EU collects data of the top quality connection, and they say you do not have enough top quality connections, but this does not mean that the households would not have some sufficient connection. So when you visit people and you tell them we have gigabit, 500 mega, 100 mega, and you tell them that the lower speed options are cheaper, people will mostly opt for the cheaper one. So there is no demand, and all these aspects influence each other, because it is one market. So you may have optics somewhere because you are trying to get the optics close to the houses. So the decision whether when you are deciding whether you should go for commercial solutions or supported states or EU supported solutions, it is always about the demand, about what people prefer, what kind of connection they want, and it is well, especially with these remote places, remote municipalities, it is really costly. So commercial solution is sometimes receives priority. I agree that the benchmarks are a little bit worse as far as the Czech Republic is concerned, because we do not qualify for access 3.0. So if when it comes to 3.1, the reports will be better. But from the viewpoint of the end user, whether it's 1 giga or 700 mega, they do not even distinguish, and the capacity is sufficient for them. But on the other hand, we are at a conference focusing on the development of broadband receiving subsidies. So we will have to install the optic fiber connection, and by doing that we will create space for 10 years ahead, because then we will not view the investment from the viewpoint of what will be sufficient next year or in 3 years, but from the perspective of what will be sufficient or appropriate for decades ahead. So I am not against a different technology used by a commercial operator, but from the viewpoint of the infrastructure, I believe that at the end of the day, the subsidies should be allocated to the networks which are future-proof.
So we have concluded that we as the industry to disseminate broadband capacity had failed, and the Commission had considered us a country that failed from the system point of view in connectivity, which is a nonsense. E-commerce services were developed. We are able to be leaders in private internet in Europe. So it's in contradiction. So there is no failure of internet. So I guess we'll have to check not only situation in the Czech Republic, but also looking at reporting the connections lines and how we just reported to the Commission. So we probably should not deteriorate our position by those reporting approaches. Questions? No, I guess, because the most important part of the conference is ahead of us, which means lunch. So I would like to thank our colleagues for coming, seeing us, and speaking about hot topics, about issues. We face a lot of issues, and the situation is not really easy. And maybe I would like to conclude looking to the troubles we face. We, as the Czech Republic, we are a creative nation, so we should handle everything from the view of challenges, not troubles. And just let's elaborate on the way how to resolve those challenges. So let's meet again 40 minutes past 1, 13:40. So you have all those bands, so the restaurant is located downstairs, so you can choose from, I guess, 7 meals, so enjoy your lunch.